So this is going to be about working towards a better relationship with food. Now, if you have a poor relationship with food, you eat when you're emotional, you eat impulsively, you just eat when you're bored, or you just eat because you like to eat. This is for you. If you like food, it's for you. Now, what you want to start with when you are approaching your fitness journey, and it's food, right? Where it's food driven, you need to start with your food stories. And this goes back to what you grew up around, and basically what it was when you were growing up, how it looked, what your dad and mom thought of food, like what you were exposed to. So was it inherently bad? Is that how they thought of it? Did food equal happiness in your household? The relationship with food, was it healthy, right? Was there healthy food relationships in the household? Was there cupboards that had to be locked? So on and so forth, right? So basically, just diving deep into that and figuring out where you kind of started and what you started to get exposed to. And then was food talked about around you? And how was it talked about, right? So given those, you want to know what their mindset was around it as you started to grow up and as you started to subconsciously, start to take these habits and solidify them in your own life. Was there enough food around? Did you not have enough food while you were growing up? And also, did you hear things like, sit there until you finish your plate, or there's people starving in other countries, etc. Right? So with that being said, that all ties into your relationship with food today, the way you were, upbrought and how it was around you and the way, it was talked about. Now, how did they eat it? Your parents, were they frugal with it? Were they intuitive? Did they eat emotionally as well? Or did they impulsively eat? Right? So what were their background? Because nurture strong. So to know what you grew up around is very important for you to understand why you are in the position you are today, because it helps you be able to change it. So you want to become aware now that you've known what your roots are, your foundation of whatever it was that you've built so far that either you're happy about or you're not happy about. You need to become aware. And I'm going to give you a list of things for you to ask yourself, tasks to do. Number one would be at least get a pen and paper near or your notes out on your phone. And this is going to be just you're going to want to describe your relationship with food in 5 words or less. This can be happy, this can be sad, emotional, this can be fun if you like to eat out, if you travel a lot and it's a part of your culture, then you can describe words, your food in any words that you feel like it would benefit you and also describe you best. So for everybody, that's going to be different. Now, number 2 would be, what was your food story growing up? Again, that goes back to the previous slides. How was your parents communicating around you about it? And how was it talked about? And then also just a few more questions of, what does it mean to you to have enough food, right? To one person, having enough food may be just having enough in the cupboard. And then to another person, having enough food could be just being able to eat one more time that day, right? So again, all of these play a factor in figuring out your core and basically where you're at, so that you can then navigate where you need to go to overcome whatever it is challenge that you're facing with nutrition. Does anybody have any questions so far? Now, a few more. What to you is the purpose of food? Now, personally, from my experience, to me, food is fuel. Food is numbers. That is how I look at food. Now, to someone else, the purpose of food may be different. The purpose of food may be the reason why you're still alive, right? Because you love it so much, and that's the only thing you can cling to, because everything else is to let you down. Again, for another person, it may be different. But for me personally, the purpose of food is, of course, living. But it's a numbers game, because I'm very in tune with my body, and I like lifting a lot, and I'm in the health space. So for you, it may be different, but again, it's very important for you to understand these questions and answer them honestly to figure yourself out. And then how do you feel about food today? Is it healthy? Do you feel like it's expensive? So on and so forth. A few more would be, how does eating bring you joy, right? What is your biggest fear in relation to eating, to food? Do you feel like you're going to gain weight when you eat all the time? Or do you feel like, um, you have to always watch what you eat because you are fearful of gaining weight? And then that causes you to step on the scale numerous of times a day, week, and then causes the cycle to repeat. So again, knowing the core of why it is you are the way you are right now is important, because it fills in the blanks. It fills in the blanks for you to understand where you need to pivot, what you need to add, subtract to get the right outcome that you want. So with that, what is your why for having food, right? What is your why for eating? Again, for me, it's to stay healthy. When and what have you felt at your fullest? So when have you felt at your fullest, and what is it you felt, and how did you feel when you felt at your fullest, most satiated, where you had to unbutton your pants, right? Because it was just too tight. Usually after Thanksgiving, right? What were the emotions you were feeling during that time? Were you beating yourself up? Again, all of these questions are going to help you become more aware of, again, how things are turning out the way they are. Now let's dive into mindset, because again, you have to rewire your mind in order for this to happen, because it is an emotional thing. We can all do a certain type of task or action, but that action doesn't become existent until it becomes a thought first. And then that thought's pondered, and then you create an action upon that thought. So it starts in the mind first. Everyone with me?
Yep.
Okay. So there's two types of mindsets. You probably heard of fixed mindset, growth mindset. These are both the same thing, lack versus abundance. Now, to dive into them first, lack mindset would obviously be just kind of like the fix, where you believe that there's limited opportunity, resources, relationships, love, wealth. So an example of this person, or something that would come out of their mouth, would be, I'll never get better, I'll never stop emotionally eating, I'll never lose weight, there's no hope, right? Saying that every day reinforces the belief and forms that exact pattern in your life as reality. If you keep saying that, right, is it, like, you speak it into existence. There's a reason why they call it spelling, because when you say things, you cast spells not only on your future, but your current life right now, which then turns into your future. So again, making sure that you're keeping your mindset good, you're not beating yourself up, but you're also holding yourself accountable, but having that healthy balance. Again, that lack mindset, just not believing that there's the light at the end of the tunnel. On the flip side, abundance would, of course, believe that there is plenty of everything: resources, love, relationships, wealth, opportunity. Everything's out there, right? You have to just go and get it. An example of someone like this, and I'm sure we've all had them in our lives, would be, I will overcome the struggle of mine no matter what it takes, right? I'll do whatever it takes. And again, this starts with just changing your expectations for not only your environment, because that's what encourages your daily actions, but just the expectations of yourself, right? We all go out to eat, and it's funny because we'll try to hold the waitress accountable for something that they probably did not do, and because the food was wrong, when in reality it was a chef. But everyone's easy to point the blame or hold someone else accountable. When it comes to us, though, and it's time to raise our own expectations and raise our own value and hold ourselves to it, we seem to struggle with that. And that's why it's an everyday battle. So those are the two differences of lack and abundance mindset. So again, and more examples, lack would be thinking small, resentment, just resenting a lot of things, holding grudges, being reactive instead of proactive, right? Always reacting to things instead of just playing on offense. Fear of change, although, just a little side note, nothing is consistent in life, guys, except for change. Change is the only thing that is going to be consistent in your life. Once you realize that, you become much happier. The last thing on the lack list would be what is not working. You're always thinking about what is not working, what didn't happen, what couldn't be done, right? When there's a lot of things that you could be grateful for, because there's people that are legless that are outrunning a lot of us right now in life, business, fitness, health, mindset, emotion, like everything. So again, it's all about holding yourself to that expectation. Now, a list of some abundance traits would be thinking big, happiness, proactive. Again, I'm sure we've all had a lot of people in our life that we've been exposed to that had this abundance mindset, and they're probably right up top of mind. This embracing change, and then also always focusing on what is working, right? There's always going to be a reason to complain. There's always going to be a reason to bitch, but there's never going to be a reason to try and figure it out. All right, because nobody wants to do that when it gets tough. Misery loves company, guys. Any questions so far? Does that all make sense? So the diving deeper into the lack mindset part, if you're feeling lack from within, like feeling you're not good enough, the lack is going to spill over not only in your personal life, not only in your personal relationships, but also your business or potentially your job directly. Like, as long as you keep feeling that way, it will permeate in other areas of your life and it will soak it up. So naturally, when you come from a feeling of lack, you attract the same. Okay, that's what you're looking for. That's what lens you have on your eyes. Going back to the last slide, again, thinking small, resentment, fear of change, also thinking about what is not working constantly. That is what you're looking for, is what's not working. So naturally, when you come from a feeling of lack or you attract that type of mindset, you're going to get the outcome. So in order to attract the feeling of abundance or feeling that you have enough, you must first plant the seed internally, all right, before you make that change. And again, that goes back to your roots. You plant the seed, you water it, then it grows, all right? And you can't plant that seed internally until you figure out what's in there. You figure out where the roots are and where the best place is to plant that seed. All right, lots of metaphors here. Stick with me. So your mindset controls everything. You can't solve a problem with the same mindset it was created in. All right, I'm going to repeat that. You can't solve a problem with the same mindset it was created in. So setting daily intentions and dedicating time to learn to be yourself will allow you to rewrite the script you've unconsciously developed over your lifetime. So in other words, setting daily intentions. When you find yourself eating, being mindful of what got you there, right? If you find yourself in the kitchen and you're eating something and you just realize that you're eating, then you could now figure out, okay, why am I in the kitchen? Am I either bored? Am I upset, nervous, don't have anything to do? Or am I realistically hungry? Or is it right after work? Like, what got you there, right? Retrace your steps, figure out, again, when you find yourself eating, if you have a problem with emotional eating, be mindful of what got you there. There's another tip that I have for people that emotionally eat a lot or they find themselves overeating consistently is every time you find yourself walking the kitchen, walk out and time yourself for 10 minutes. So every single time you walk in the kitchen and eat something, time yourself 10 minutes and walk out. Usually you don't go back. But if anybody does that, let me know how that works. Food story reframes. All right. There's stories that you tell yourself every single day. And if you tell yourself enough stories, you're going to start to believe it. You're going to start to believe every chapter that you tell yourself. And then at the end of it, you're not going to like the book that you wrote. So with these food stories, we have to make sure that we're either transitioning if we have been using the wrong ones, or we be mindful of them going forward. So looking at something and thinking that it's too unhealthy, right? Like that's too unhealthy, or looking at it and being like, okay, I probably can't have that because that's unhealthy, or I shouldn't have it. Or maybe you gave yourself a yes and no list and you said, these are the foods I can eat. These are the foods I can't eat. Most of the time, the list that has the can't eat foods, or the foods that you're unable to eat, are usually the ones that you want to eat the most. And anyone with kids in here knows that if you tell someone to not do something, they want to do it more. So if you tell yourself, I do not want to go to Starbucks, and you've been going to Starbucks every morning for the last 3 years, you're probably, that's the thing, it's on your mind. Again, it's just what you're looking for, what you're repeating in your mind, what you keep consuming, what you keep sponging up. Um, so again, looking at something and saying that's too unhealthy, you can rephrase that and say, I can have balance, right? Too much of anything is bad. Too much of water, you could drown yourself. Too much shampoo could dry your hair out. Too much of anything is bad, even if it's good in smaller portions. So again, finding that balance and also enjoying the things that you love. If you like ice cream before bed, enjoy it, but have balance. Moving on to another one, where is this worth buying, right? Sometimes healthier things could be more expensive. We've all probably seen that, where supplements, certain medicines, organic, just healthier things are typically more expensive. And when you look at it, instead of thinking, is this worth buying because it is expensive? Which I'm sure all of you have probably thought if you got on the phone with me before you signed on to the program. What you should ask yourself is, does it add value to your fitness goals? Does it add value to whatever direction it is that you want to head towards? And if it is, then it's probably worth buying, because what you have been doing up to this point probably hasn't been working. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at the food story reframes and trying to reframe it. All right. Now, the last one is, am I going overboard? Right? When you go into your fitness journey and you start to gain traction, you start to get some momentum, most of the time, people around you are not going to be on the same pace. They're not going to be on the same mindset as you. I'm sure we've all seen this before. And if a lot of people say enough things and you let it get to you enough, you start to question yourself, right? And with enough conviction, you start to become the victim of your own mind. So if you're thinking, am I going too overboard? Am I going too overboard to meal prep for lunches because people at work are making fun of my meal preps? Or am I going overboard because I'm eating set? Like, here's the deal, guys. And this is another side note. I don't want to get too off track, but I used to be made fun of at work because of the things that I chose to eat at lunch because they were healthy. So again, I'm going to repeat that. Because I chose to eat healthy, because I chose to eat certain foods that were aligned with my goals, others around me that were not understanding my mindset, my goal, didn't have my same vision, they didn't realize why I was doing it, and that's why they made fun of me, or that's why they were laughing or whatnot. But regardless of the point, you are going to have people around you that probably don't agree with what you're doing because they're not on the same train. So if you're questioning yourself because of the people around you are always pointing at you, and you're like, am I going too overboard with this? You could ask yourself, how important are your goals to you? How important are they? Did the doctor say that you have 6 months? Did the doctor say that you need to do something, otherwise you're not going to be able to see your grandkids play? Did the doctor say that you need to now do, some type of blood work, right? How important are your goals to you? What is your why? Right? And once you find that, the outside chatter becomes silent. Once your why becomes clear enough, and the reason you are on this call and going through these trainings, and the reason why you've said yes when I asked for your permission to lead you in your fitness journey, why, right? How important is your goals to you, and why are they important to you? Are they just your goals, or are they goals for your kids as well? Right? So realizing that and always going back to these reframes and catching yourself when you do these is very important. Again, to switch the pattern, because the only way we're going to get a different outcome is to disrupt the pattern that has already been made subconsciously over time. Over time, we don't see that. Now, be particular with how you speak about food, and also lack mindset. Come from a place of desire and gratitude opposed to need and force. Instead of feeling like you're forcing something, or you have to, if you feel like you have to force your workouts, or you feel like you You need to stop eating before 8 p.m. or whatnot. Why? Right? Be particular with how you speak to yourself and ask yourself certain questions and see if maybe you're just in the lack mindset, right? So that's just a good example there. Okay. Everyone still with me?
Yes.
Cool. So I was going to give you 3 nutritional abundant action steps because again, um, I can tell you the ways to get to your root cause. I can tell you what you should do. I could encourage you on what mindset you should have. But again, I want to make it clear. I want to give you guys action steps so that you can actively start doing this today to see results. All right. I'm going to look at the chat real quick. Cool. All right. He's in here. So I'm going to give you 4 instead of 3, and I'm going to explain why. But first, the number one is no complaining about food, decisions about food. This isn't censorship. So no complaining about the food decisions you make. All right. If you fuck up, move on. All right. I know we've all been there where we eat something we shouldn't have, maybe 2, 3 Oreos, and then we go back to the lack mindset.
Only 2 or 3 or 4?
Yep, 3, 4, the lack mindset kicks in, and then the fuck it mentality kicks in. Then you have 1 to 2 sleeves, right? Whereas of you could have just had 1 or 2 cookies. Then, right? So there's a reason why you can lay that layer right back over and close the tabs there, and it has a sticky thing. It's very accessible. Very dangerous. That's why I don't have any Oreos in here. But again, stop at 2. Don't stop at 2 sleeves, but instead 2 cookies. No complaining about your food decisions. Your next decision can be your best decision. So no complaining, no negative self-talk, just move past it. All right. Everything's going to be fine. So again, this isn't censorship by all means. You're not censoring yourself by doing this, but it allows you to leave room for new. It allows you to leave room for newer habits, newer causes that you need. And it's easier when you're not feeding yourself the poison. All right. And the poison being the lack mindset, negative self-talk when you do fuck up, because it's going to happen. All of us do it, right? I still fuck up. There's days I don't work out. There's days where I eat things I shouldn't eat, right? But it shouldn't send you into 1 to 2, 3 days of just saying fuck it and eating whatever you want. And then, stepping on the weight scale 6, 7 times in the next 2 days and just, again, getting into that cycle. Number 2, and this one I wasn't going to put in here because I'm not woo-woo. I'm not the type to say think your way to success or think your way into changing your life, because again, you have to take action. Like life rewards action takers. But number 2 is affirm yourself. So tell yourself multiple times. I'm a big believer in sticky notes. I have sticky note quotes around my house all the time. But again, just telling yourself it's easy for me to understand nutrition, or whatever goal you're wanting and the struggles that you do have leading up to that. If you're wanting to lose weight, just letting yourself know it's easy for you to lose weight, not only because you have the actionable steps needed, the coach, the program, everything that you need in front of you to get to it, but you're also subconsciously reprogramming yourself to believe that you can actually get there. If you can't believe that you can lose weight, you're probably not going to lose weight. You have to believe. All right. If you don't believe you're going to get the job going into the interview, you're probably going to bail the interview. Like you're probably going to lift your arms up and have sweat stains, right? It all comes down to self-talk, affirming, and just telling yourself that you're a badass. Even if you're not, like, even if you truly believe with every ounce in your heart that you probably can't do something, go in it 100% thinking that you can. All right. And I'm sure a lot of you who have done your one-on-one sessions with me have looked at me crazy because I've told you to do a certain set or a certain exercise that had either weight on it or a rep count performed that you probably were not used to, and it threw you off, and it seemed impossible. But even if something seems impossible, go in it thinking that you're gonna fucking crush it. Like in the worst that can happen, you shoot for the stars and you hit the clouds. All right. So number 3 is daily gratitude. Start with just one thing, being grateful for one thing until it is no longer something that you have to think about and it becomes autopilot. So if you struggle with going to the fast food restaurant every morning on the way to work and you're getting certain things for breakfast, then when you make your own breakfast and you set out that time to do that and you prioritize making your own breakfast, so number 1, you can save money, and 2, stay on track and not go out, get the sausage McMuffins, the hash browns, then appreciate that, right? Be grateful, have gratitude, and compliment yourself. Thank yourself for that every single day that you do it. And again, don't get caught up on the days you don't, but continuously being grateful for yourself so that you're not looking externally for that motivation or for the, whatever it may be, the validation you may need to keep moving forward. You can give yourself that validation. You can give yourself that gratitude, right? By doing the right thing and then complimenting yourself afterwards. Now, the other flip of the token is also holding yourself accountable when you don't do something that you should have done. A lot of us forget that. Now, number 4 is clean, prepare part of your space, right? Prepare. If you have to prepare your lunches, if you have to prepare your breakfast, if you have to set out dinner, maybe you grocery shop in advance for the week so that you're not always running to the grocery store because you're time constraint, then that's what you need to do. Clean, prepare your space to welcome in, open up, to receive new habits, new flows, and new progress. Like, open up and welcome yourself to change by preparing for it. Again, if you're not prepared to lose 30 pounds and your goal is to lose 30 pounds, you're not going to lose 30 pounds. If you're not prepared for the battle, you're probably not going to win the battle. Preparation. Always prepare. Okay. Big takeaways. What you choose to focus on and pour your energy into will grow. This goes with everything. This isn't just fitness. This isn't just health. What you choose to focus on, the music you listen to, the TV shows you listen to, the people you hang around, what you pour your energy into, it will start to grow. And that goes back to the seed. All right. You can't be in a state of growth if you are distracted by your past wounds. If you're distracted by the wounds, you are not in a state of growth. All right. And the wounds could be the external voices, the people saying, hey, you're out of your damn mind. You shouldn't be tracking your nutrition. Hey, you should put another piece of cake on that plate. You can't be in a state of growth if you're distracted by other things. The wounds that you've gotten up until that point, you can't be in a state of growth if you're in lack mindset. You can't be in a state of growth if you're not ready to accept it, right? So if you let yourself get distracted, go out on the weekends, you cave into peer pressure, you let life stressors get to you so that you continues the cycle of emotional eating and then not put the actionable steps into place to change it, you can't be in a state of growth. So again, life complements action takers. Number 3, the last giveaway or the takeaway would be fork in the road analogy. And this is the mindset, just knowing that there's always more stories to it. And it's thinking that there's always a way out. There's always positive, thinking about always winning. Even if you fail, even if you mess up, even if you don't make a certain weight, if you stay the same weight when you step on the weight scale after 7 days of working your ass off and you step on that damn scale and it doesn't go anywhere, it's mindset, right? You can either go down one road and say, you know what, fuck it, that didn't count, or this program's shit, or what's the point? I worked all this whole week. This next week, I'm just going to let myself fully go because there's no point, right? You can go down that road or you can go down another road again. So for retrospect, fork analogy, it's all about the mindset. Whatever it may be, a win, a loss, it all comes down to your mindset and how you're talking to yourself. So I'm going to give you guys a few resources. just to kind of help you with the emotional side of things when it comes to nutrition, and also just kickstart your nutrition on when you travel. If you're traveling a lot or you have a vacation coming up, I do have an ebook, 4 tips to travel, a weekend warrior guide to stay on track on the weekends if you feel like that's when you fall off, and then also a lunch building guide. I'm going to click on all these just to give you guys retrospect, and you can see exactly what these are. So the weekend warrior guide here, once it pulls up, what you see here is basically a brief introduction of letting you know how many weekends there are in a year. And then it gives you basically just a list of certain tips, weekend checklist, hit your protein, step goal. It gives you protein options and then also drink options. I'm not a big believer in telling you you shouldn't drink. I'm not a big believer in saying you shouldn't smoke weed. I'm not a big believer in saying you shouldn't do whatever it is you've been doing before joining the program, because you're able to reach your goals regardless. But those of you who know that there's some building blocks and some big boulders up ahead that need to be moved, those of you know that. But if you like to go out and socially drink, you can still reach your goals and socially drink. So here's drink options for you that you can drink and not have bad hangovers. They're friendly with macros. So again, not a big believer in telling you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. Because again, once I tell you not to do something, it makes you want to do it more because it puts it on the top of your mind. Sunday checklist for not only yourself, but also family households if you have a family. Now, the next one, traveling tip. This is an ebook starting here at the top. You have a packing list. Again, alternatives for certain foods. You can modify meals, being mindful of liquids, how to plan your workouts, how to get active if you don't have a gym, right? So this is a traveling ebook, just a guide to help you stay on track while you are traveling. If you like to go up north for most of the weekends, okay? Last one, lunch building diagram or template, right? You pick one of each column and you have a meal, right? So let's see here. Just for retrospect, chicken, yams, you get it. But you run it left to right, and that's a meal. Cool. All right, I think wraps it up. Anybody have any questions? No questions?